So family and friends, it's been a good 10 days since GNX has released, and I think at this point it's fair to say that this album is a classic. And if you disagree, then you're probably smart because it's far too soon to say whether or not this album is a classic. It's an incredible album. I haven't stopped listening to it, but yeah, in my opinion, way too soon to tell where this will stand amongst Kendrick's catalog. It's also way too soon to be expecting new music from Kendrick. And before you come at me in the comments like, "Oh, Rapaholics, this is clickbait. Why are you worried about a second album? Just enjoy the music we have, bro." I am very much enjoying this album. I haven't listened to anything else since it's been released. Like, Absol put out what I thought was album of the year, and to be honest, I haven't gone back to it since Kendrick released GNX. So I'd personally be okay if this is the only Kendrick project we get for the next few years and there's no second album, but there's too many signs to ignore. So I want to take you guys through the Squabble Up music video. I want to take you through everything that the people around Kendrick have been saying about a second album, and you guys let me know in the comments. Basically, not if we're going to get a second album, but when. I think there's way too many hints, way too much proof to show that we will definitely be getting another project very soon. But let's start with the music video. There was one key detail that I feel like a lot of people missed when they were breaking down this video. One key Easter egg that hints that a second album is coming shortly, and that would be through the different albums that Kendrick pays homage to within the video. So yeah, if you guys haven't seen the Squabble Up music video, there's odes to several different classic West Coast albums which hint that GNX will either be a double album or simply a second album that's on the way. And the one that I feel like people are skipping over is the fact that Kendrick recreates the back cover of Ice-T's album Power. Now, why is this album significant? Well, aside from paying homage to a project that helped birth West Coast gangster rap, this project was, funny enough, Ice-T's second album. All the albums that Kendrick pays tribute to in this video are either double albums or, like Ice-T's, their second albums. He's also recreating the back of the cover, not the actual front cover, possibly inferring that there's another side to GNX that will be on the way. Ironically, that Ice-T album also features two songs which sparked a back and forth between Ice-T and LL Cool J, and that back and forth drew many parallels to the beef between Kendrick and Drake. The Power album's single, I'm Your Pusher, was a clever metaphorical track where Ice-T compared himself to a drug dealer, but instead of narcotics, he was pushing quality hip-hop. The subtext was a critique of commercialized formulaic rap that prioritized pop appeal over substance. Ice-T represented the gritty West Coast street narrative, and his music was heavily influenced by gang culture and underground authenticity. LL Cool J, on the other hand, was seen as a polished, commercially successful artist, blending love ballads like I Need Love with braggadocious raps like I'm Bad. LL embodied mainstream appeal, which some people in the hip-hop community viewed as a compromise of the culture's raw essence, which probably sounds familiar if you think of the context between Drake and Kendrick and the contrast of their artistry. Ice-T explained later that he felt that LL Cool J was, at that time, on his I'm the greatest rapper in the world type of thing. He said, "Me being from LA, I was trying to rep our entire city alone, so I had to step to him." Another song off the Ice-T Power album, titled Girls LGBNAF, was a humorous response to LL Cool J's song I Need Love. Ice-T said that girls came to me and asked, "Ice, why don't you write a ballad?" Now, can you imagine me saying I need love? That's a wimp. So I wrote Girls as a joke. LL Cool J later retaliated, dissing Ice-T in his song To the Break of Dawn. Ice-T also emphasized that he had no personal problem with LL, but he just thought he could beat him at rapping. He commented on the feud again in a 2012 interview saying, "You need a nemesis in hip-hop. It's part of what fuels good rap." L was coming out of New York saying he was the best rapper in the world. I was trying to get my feet out of LA. You can't have someone saying they're the best if you're trying to be the best. We had a little hip-hop thing, but it was never serious. Now, the dynamic between Kendrick Lamar and Drake echoes Ice-T versus LL Cool J in many ways. Obviously, Drake and LL Cool J both dominated their eras with commercial appeal and mainstream hits. Drake's ability to straddle genres and deliver melodic tracks like Hotline Bling mirror LL Cool J's love ballads like Hey Lover or I Need Love, and both artists faced criticism for allegedly watering down hip-hop. Drake, just like LL Cool J, used his versatility and chart dominance to stay at the top, but this has also made him a target for accusations of prioritizing marketability over artistry. Kendrick, just like Ice-T, positioned himself as a purist and a cultural voice. Not just Not Like Us, but records like Watch the Party Die and a lot of records off GNX critique artists who prioritize fame over lyrical depth and cultural impact. Just like he said on Euphoria, only you like being famous. Similarly, Ice-T's I'm Your Pusher criticized shallow, commercialized rap. Both Kendrick and Ice-T represent a refusal to conform, emphasizing the art form's roots and using their platforms to elevate deeper, more meaningful messages. The Ice-T and LL Cool J beef symbolized the tension between street credibility and commercial success in early hip-hop. Similarly, Kendrick and Drake's rivalry reflected a broader debate in modern rap about artistry versus accessibility. Ironically, a couple months back, LL Cool J himself spoke on the Kendrick-Drake beef, saying, "Kendrick won the battle. I mean, come on, it's obvious. That's a no-brainer. And listen, I like Drake. I love his music. He's a cool dude. We don't know each other, but I like his music. I'm happy for him and everything. But, Kendrick, that might have been a bad choice." Now, aside from that, the Squabble Up music video also features a spinning disc of Nate Dogg's album G-Funk Classics Volume 1 and 2. Another classic West Coast album from the late legend Nate Dogg, rest in peace. And aside from this being another ode to California culture, it's also a small hint at the possibility that Kendrick is planning to release a double album of his own. Another hint at a double album from Kendrick comes when he pays tribute to soul singer Isaac Hayes and his own double album, Black Moses. In the music video, there's an individual standing in the same pose as Hayes was on the Black Moses album cover. Now, the album title Black Moses derives from a nickname given to Isaac Hayes, as the effect of his music on black audiences was compared to the leadership of the biblical figure Moses. But Hayes, who was deeply Christian, had initially shied away from the nickname, saying he found it sacrilegious. But he eventually came to see the title of Black Moses as a symbol of black pride. The Black Moses tribute in the video is also placed on the opposite side of a Black Panther statue, and it almost draws parallels to the savior complex that has surrounded Kendrick throughout his career. He has always been regarded as this savior of hip-hop by fans and critics, or somewhat of a reincarnated Black Moses himself. But as his life progressed, he let us know that he was working on himself, and he wasn't necessarily the savior that we all proclaimed him to be. Now, the next music reference Kendrick makes in this music video, really the main one, is the backdrop of the entire music video. The tan green room with the light fixture on the wall is almost an identical mock-up to the backdrop of the music video to the Roots' song, The Next Movement, off their album, Things Fall Apart. Now, this could be a reach, but the tracklist of that album doesn't start at number 1. Instead, it starts at number 54. As its tracklist is a continuation of the previous 3 Roots albums. Again, this could be a reach, but maybe it's a possible hint at there being a continuation tracklist to Kendrick's GNX album. Questlove, the drummer of the Roots, had thanked Kendrick for paying tribute to their music video in a caption on Instagram saying, "I want to thank Kendrick Lamar for acknowledging something I thought no one saw or cared about." Now, what's interesting is both Questlove and Isaac Hayes' son had some interesting critiques about Kendrick's beef with Drake a few months back. Questlove at the time wrote on Instagram saying, "Nobody won the war. This wasn't about skill. This was a wrestling match level mudslinging and takedown by any means necessary. Women and children and actual facts be damned. Same audience wanting blood will soon put up RIP posts like they weren't part of the problem. Hip-hop is truly dead." And I can't say I completely disagree with this opinion. While the scope of battle rap isn't limited to any sort of name-calling or insults, I think I could speak for everyone saying that it was definitely a rough night listening to both Family Matters and then Meet the Grams back-to-back. Like, before that, we had Push-Ups and Euphoria and 616 in LA, which were all semi-lighthearted. Families weren't involved. There was no insane allegations being made back and forth. And obviously, Kendrick did warn Drake not to take things further, which he ended up doing on Family Matters. And that's where things kind of got ugly. That's where allegations ended up being thrown out with no actual proof. Horrible allegations of abuse, adultery on Kendrick's end with the whole fake daughter narrative and talking to Adonis like he's his mentor. While I think it was all obviously in the spirit of hip hop, and I think it's an exaggeration on Questlove's part saying that soon they'll be putting up RIP posts like they weren't part of the problem, I do think where things got truly ugly within this beef was when they started making those horrible allegations, bringing family involved, and turning this rap battle into more of a TMZ gossip column rather than a true demonstration of both of their artistic skill set. Isaac Hayes III had a take that I didn't necessarily agree with. He got on Twitter after Not Like Us released saying, "So let me get this straight. An army of rappers, singers, producers, managers, bloggers, podcasters, streamers, journalists, and Kendrick Lamar fans banded together to try and destroy Drake's career with criminal PDF file allegations, colorism attacks, culture vulture accusations, and misinformation music, and he's still standing. are you really debating who won? I mean, to him, I would just say you gotta remember the sequence of events that transpired before Kendrick even released a diss track. Yeah, Drake was going up against an army of rappers like Future, Rick Ross, A$AP Rocky, Kendrick, but before Kendrick ever released a diss track, you had an army of streamers and podcasters like DJ Academics, Aiden Ross, Maul, all taunting Kendrick, saying he was not ready for this battle. You also had Drake himself and his whole OVO team trolling Kendrick relentlessly. Chubb was on Instagram saying, tell that boy to drop, but he knows he can't because he has nothing. Drake came out with all these insane allegations of Kendrick being involved in domestic violence, his fiance cheating on him with his manager, having a kid with him. Like, there were allegations being thrown on both sides, misinformation all across the board. It was not one-sided in the slightest. And it seems like Punch from TDE caught wind of all of these comments that were made during the beef, because people on Twitter pointed out that both Isaac Hayes and Questlove had comments about the beef that weren't the most favorable for Kendrick Lamar, and people were commenting on Twitter saying, you know, wasn't Isaac Hayes' son hating? Wasn't Questlove hating? And Punch said, both of them. We seen them. But aside from that, there's no denying that Roots album is a classic, and it's nice to see Kendrick pay tribute to it. But now back to the Squabble Up music video. The last Easter egg we have here that could be related to a second album coming soon is something that people are still trying to decode. Kendrick was paying homage to the TV series Soul Train by featuring a scramble board that was similar to the one that would appear on the show. Now, there's a bunch of letters scrabbled around, so we gotta try and guess the message behind it, if there's even a message at all. One fan commented under Justin Hunt's review of the music video, and he has, in my opinion, the best guess as to what the secret message could be. Also, shout out to the company, man. You guys should definitely check out his channel. So basically, this commenter noticed that the letters spell out omnia est a liquid, which I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's a Spanish saying, and in English it translates to everything is something. Now, aside from that, there's still 13 remaining letters. 9 of them spell the word Wednesday, and the remaining 4 are KRTT. Now, he noticed that KRTT is a road racing version of a classic Harley bike, which fits the car theme behind Kendrick's GNX album, and Harley Davidson had a whole post with behind-the-scenes shots of the Not Like Us music video, and Harley was also featured all throughout that music video. So maybe that's a hint towards this next album. Everything is something. Maybe it has something to do with KRTT. Maybe it's going to drop on a Wednesday. Could be a reach. Again, who knows? Just the best guess that I could see from that whole scramble board. Now, keep in mind, beyond the video, in the song itself, Kendrick raps "Hit his turf and get it crackin', double back like a deluxe." So is there a deluxe coming, or even better, a second album? Well, we're going to walk through a bunch of different things that people very close to Kendrick have said that very much point to a second album 100% being on the way. I'm going to be dropping my full review on the GNX album in the coming days, so stay tuned for that. But as you guys probably know if you listen to the project, it definitely has a mixtape feel, or at the very least, it's the easiest Kendrick project to digest off the first few listens. There's likely a ton of depth within the music that maybe hasn't even been picked up on yet, but everything from the way the track list is structured, to the bars, to even on the intro with Kendrick rapping, this isn't for the lyricists, F a double entendre, I want you to feel this stuff. It seems like he's crafting GNX in a more carefree approach relative to his other albums, in the sense that there's no overarching theme tying the whole project together, like the poem he reads throughout the songs on To Pimp a Butterfly, or the reversible order of Damn's track list, or the cinematic progression of Good Kid Mad City. Like, the structure of GNX just feels simpler in a beautiful way. Again, I wouldn't be mad at all if this was the only Kendrick project we got for years to come. But you're going to see later in this video, like, if the hints in this music video haven't convinced you that there's more music coming, you'll 100% realize we're getting more Kendrick music very soon. But before we dive into what everyone around Kendrick has said about a second album, let's go through a couple other cool references within the Squabble Up music video, because the whole clip was basically an ode to black culture, West Coast heritage, and me being a white dude from Canada, there's definitely a lot of Easter eggs and references that I'm missing, so drop a comment on anything you picked up on that I missed, but let's break down a couple different things. So when Kendrick raps, "Don't hit him, he got kids with him, my apologies," we see a kid on a little toy bike in an orange jacket, and this is a direct reference to the little kid Anthony in the 1993 movie Menace to Society. This is a film that depicts a Los Angeles neighborhood, Crenshaw, the same neighborhood Nipsey Hussle grew up in, and about a 30-minute drive from Kendrick's hometown of Compton. And the depiction of this kid is very powerful just because in the movie, it's a scene of the kid Anthony riding his bike the same way the kid in the music video is, and he's almost hit in a drive-by. but the main character, Kane, jumps in the way to shield him and gets fatally hit in the process. Kendrick depicts the same kid in the music video as he raps, "Don't hit him, he got kids with him." There's another bike reference where we see a bike that says "That Go" painted on the back, and this is in reference to the Oakland-based group Trunk Boys and their 2007 record Scraper Bike, as there was a bike with that same sign in the music video for their record as well. There's a couple cameos in the music video, including the music producer Taz Arnold, who worked on Kendrick's To Pimp a Butterfly album. He's flashing 2 brass knuckles, or 4 finger rings, whatever you want to call it, that says Hood and Love, and this is in reference to the Spike Lee film Do the Right Thing, particularly the character of Radio Raheem, as he had a monologue in the film breaking down Love's ability to combat hate. And he similarly wore 2 4-finger rings that read Hate and Love. But Kendrick replaces the hate ring with one that says Hood. And the guy flashing the rings in this music video, Taz Arnold, is someone who Kendrick has said is on his Mount Rushmore of style. And speaking of style, Kendrick in the video is seen rocking a blue sweater and hat, the complete reverse of the red sweater and hat that he wore while performing at his pop-out concert, possibly an ode to the unison of Blood and Crip gangs that Kendrick is trying to bring to LA, and definitely a nod to LA as it's the same color as the Dodgers blue that represents the LA Dodgers baseball team and the Dodgers blue track off his GNX album. He's also rocking a belt that I believe is the same one he wore on the album cover to GNX, and other appearances in the music video include the LA rapper RJ Mr. LA. He's dancing in the video, and there's many different dancers throughout the video, but what's cool is that most of them didn't even know they were filming a music video for Kendrick Lamar. This is what one of the dancers had to say about it.
Squabble Up music video shoot. And it wasn't even, well, I guess outside of LA. If you know, like, Sillamar, like in the valley, whatever this was where it was at, it wasn't even in technically LA. I'm from Oakland, so I don't know the difference. But to answer y'all question, since y'all keep asking, Kendrick wasn't there. They had everybody that was involved. If you hear RJ and Lefty Gunplay, they were talking about how everybody signed RDAs. Nobody knew that it was Kendrick's song or nothing like that. So while we shooting the video, they was playing like some random beat or whatever, and Kendrick had a stand-in. So Kendrick wasn't there. First of all, they didn't play Squabble Up while we were shooting the video. What else? Yeah, it was just like a secret. Even as we going into the studio to shoot the scene or whatever, security is putting everybody's phone in pouches so people wouldn't record and put it on social media and all that type of stuff. So nobody knew it was for Kendrick Lamar.
And it's interesting that they structured it like this. Like, does that mean that they just photoshopped Kendrick into all these scenes? Like, how did they kind of make it so that no one knew this would be a production for Kendrick Lamar when he's in basically every single scene? Regardless, another dancer by the name of Storm DeBarge, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name, she also makes an appearance in the video, and she was also dancing in the Not Like Us music video in the scene with Kendrick and Mustard at the Tamsburger Diner. A couple other references include the Compton 105 freeway highway sign at the beginning of the music video. The video also features the Pan-African flag, which was created in 1920 by Marcus Garvey and the UNIA. And the colors of that flag symbolize different things. The red represents the bloodshed and further liberation of African ancestors. The black represents the African people, and the green symbolizes the continent's wealth and natural beauty. And it's used as a unifying emblem of pride and liberation for the African diaspora. Where it wasn't used in such a unifying way was on the profile picture of the Ebony Prince Twitter account. This Twitter user was claiming to have information exposing Drake throughout the Kendrick beef. He tweeted out security camera footage of Drake at the Marquis Hotel, and I believe he claimed to have the items from the Meet the Grams album cover, like the perk pills and all that, but I don't think Kendrick used the flag to reference that account in any way in this music video. But he concludes the end of the video with a couple other interesting Easter eggs. Number one, Kendrick is flashing a sign that says Jesus Saves Gangsters 2, which is actually a Los Angeles-based outreach ministry, and the organization's goal is to bring gangsters into God's kingdom. There's also a banner reading Compton Christmas Parade, which is an event in Compton that I believe has been going on for about 75 years now. Kendrick himself was the Grand Marshal at the 2015 Compton Christmas Parade, and it's unclear if he'll be attending or performing at this year's parade, or if he'll be throwing an event of his own, but it's definitely a hint at something, maybe including the Jesus Saves Gangsters 2 organization in the mix for whatever he's working on. He did say on this album that he's trying to push peace in LA. Oh, and I forgot, the little detail that everyone's talking about is the book that Kendrick's reading that says How to Be More Like Kendrick for Dummies. Possibly a reference to, They Not Like Us. or possibly just emphasizing that amongst all these different odes to West Coast culture throughout the video, classic albums depicted, classic movies that were released during Kendrick's childhood, he's showing you all of his heritage, his upbringing, everything that represents not just California, but also him within this music video. So this music video, in essence, is the visual to the How to Be More Like Kendrick for Dummies book. But now let's move on to this second album. So we see in this music video of a song where he's talking about doubling back like a deluxe. We get imagery of double albums from Nate Dogg and Isaac Hayes. Ice-T's second album is displayed. The Roots are paid homage to, and their album's track lists are all a continuation of the previous ones. But aside from all these little signs, Kendrick and his team have been dropping hints since before GNX was even released that it wouldn't be the only project that we get from him. So right away with the trailer that Kendrick dropped around 30 minutes before the album, we could see that the visual featured not one, but two different GNX cars, possibly symbolic to a second album on the way. The song played in the trailer is also a track that wasn't featured on the final track list of GNX.
The money out here, young man, for a quarter your hand, you'll die broke trying to play victim.
Kendrick is known to preview new music in his visuals. In the All Right music video, he never released the song that's played at the beginning of the music video, but in the Not Like Us music video, he previewed Squabble Up, and obviously that ended up on GNX. So it's possible that he'll be releasing this song that he previewed in the GNX trailer on a new album. Another interesting thing is how last minute some of the aspects of this album were created in. For example, the mariachi singer Dara Barrera, sorry again if I'm mispronouncing that, who sings in Spanish all throughout GNX, Kendrick only met her around a month ago at Game 1 of the World Series between the LA Dodgers and the New York Yankees. Aside from Dara being added to the album at the last minute, Kendrick also only received the beat for the title track GNX 2 days before the album was released. A screenshot of his text messages with the producer of that record were leaked, where Kendrick is requesting some ignorant West Coast stuff for the instrumental. We also know that Whacked Out Murals had to have been recorded very recently because he's touching on issues like the Super Bowl, with Lil Wayne being upset at Kendrick or Nas congratulating him, and these are only events that transpired in September and October. It's just interesting that for someone who typically spends several years carefully crafting his albums, it seems like this time around Kendrick was adding little details at the very last minute, which could mean again that this was completed in the same process that someone would record a mixtape in. Especially when you also take into account the posse cuts like GNX, which feels like the West Coast version of a posse cut off an old Lil Wayne mixtape, or the indirect ode to mixtape freestyles in the form of the production and flows off some of these records. Like, for example, the song Reincarnated uses the same beat as Tupac's song Made Guys. One of the flows Kendrick uses on Gloria is the exact same flow that he used on the 2022 record Father Time. TV Off and Squabble Up sound like interpolations of Not Like Us. So in general, there's a lot of remixing or using samples in interesting ways on this project. Not to mention, Kendrick lately seems to be in a space of releasing music he's recorded very recently. We saw this during the beef with Drake as he was releasing track after track within the span of just a couple days, sometimes even just a couple hours. And we know he made tweaks to these records right before he released them because on the third verse of Not Like Us, Kendrick referenced Drake's bar about getting the slaves freed from Family Matters, and he referenced the Family Matters title by saying the family matters and the truth of the matter is God planned to show you the liar. Another interesting thing which might lead you to believe that GNX isn't the official album is the fact that The Heart Part 6 was on this project. The Heart songs are part of a series that Kendrick has only released right before he drops an album, almost like a snapshot of his life or his heart at that period of time. But this time around, The Heart Part 6 was actually on the track list for the first time ever in Kendrick's career. So now you might be saying, okay, Rapaholics, he's dropped a few hints, but there's no concrete proof of a second album coming. Well, you might be right, but let's get into the most concrete proof that we have. So this is what DJ Head tweeted out just a few days after GNX was released. He had said, I did speak to Bro, but I'm not speaking for him when I say this. This tempo, sound, energy isn't going anywhere anytime soon. If you're not a fan of our culture, it's going to be a long 4 years for you. West Coast. Now, if you don't know who DJ Head is or his connection to Kendrick, he's been affiliated with the TDE camp since the early days of 2008 to 2009. He was even featured on Ab-Soul's album way back in 2010. He booked a show for Kendrick in 2010 where Kendrick only got paid around $500. He was touring with TDE back in the day. He describes his relationship with the camp as a real brotherhood, not on some industry stuff. And he's not known to talk just to talk. He only speaks on factual information. So it's important to pay attention to what he says very closely, and he made some other comments which we're going to touch on shortly. But before that, When we take a look at the metadata for GNX, which is basically all the information of the files, which would include the song titles, producers, genres, release date, etc., we can see that the metadata lists the album GNX as CD1. Why would it be listed as CD1 if there's no CD2 releasing after it? If anyone has an answer for that, let me know in the comments. But now, speaking of someone who was on CD1 of GNX, Lefty Gunplay, who's on the song TV Off, he did an interview after the album dropped and said himself that him and Kendrick have more music on the way and that there's a deluxe of GNX dropping at some point.
I rapped on that beat, got some stuff. I know he's got a deluxe version coming out, so I don't know what he got going. He's very secretive. Yeah, but when you kick with him in person, he's cool, man.
For sure. No, he's solid.
It's his team, you know. They're professionals. You know, he's been doing it. He gave me opportunity, and he put me on. What I got the number? I'm on it. My name's on it. #1 song in the world.
#1 song.
Another feature on the album, Hit a J3, who was on the title track GNX, he grew up with Kendrick and he tweeted out on November 26th saying, "Focus on what's coming next, not what's taking place at the moment." Now, aside from these guys who are directly connected to Kendrick and are presumably in close communication with him, we also got word of new Kendrick music coming from other industry insiders. Elliot Wilson, who's closely affiliated with Jay-Z, tweeted out simply, Hove, and Dot. We also heard from DJ Snake before GNX dropped that Taylor Swift has a feature on the new Kendrick album. I personally thought she was the female singing at the beginning of Luther, but I quickly realized that was SZA. But it's possible that he's saving these bigger budget records for this new project, with massive features like Taylor Swift or Jay-Z. Joe Budden had also said he heard snippets of new Kendrick music and it sounds insane, and Daylight, who's known to be a troll but is also affiliated with Punch's record label, he tweeted and deleted a bunch of cryptic things after the album dropped, hinting at a new date of December 12th. Now, back to DJ Head. The biggest clue that something else is coming in the future is the fact that he went on IG Live with Ab-Soul, the same guy who Kendrick on the Heart Part 6 said he looked up to when it came to rapping, and that's who he was inspired by in terms of his pen. They were both on Instagram Live saying that Kendrick is not done.
You see what Doc doing?
Oh, come on, man.
Doc going crazy right now, bro.
He ain't even go. All right, you know what? Yeah, nah, yeah. He's going crazy right now.
We ain't gonna make give him nothing, give him too much, but bro, Doc got it. Let me tell you, so I will say this though, because I already know the people is recording this. I will say this: the homie ain't done, and this is what niggas is on right now. So you could take that however you want.
So again, all of this isn't to undermine the quality of GNX. I have a review coming out for it soon. I haven't stopped listening to it. Again, if we don't get another Kendrick project for the next few years, I'd be more than happy with just this. But there's so many signs that Kendrick just simply isn't done. It's funny because back when Damn came out, which was Kendrick's second shortest album, I believe, there were a lot of fan theories that he was going to come out with a second project back then, 2 weeks after Damn released, called Nation. This would make it a two-part album like Damn Nation, but this never came to fruition. So again, this could all be speculation. But with the Easter eggs Kendrick dropped himself and the people around him who were directly involved in this project stating that something else is coming, and with the fact that he's about to perform on the biggest stage in America at the 2025 Super Bowl, I could definitely see this not being the end of this era. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know if I missed anything in the Squabble Up music video that points to a second album or just some interesting references in general. Stay tuned for a GNX full album review. And if you've been keeping up with the channel for a while, first of all, I appreciate you greatly. But second, I've been using my iPhone to record basically all these videos. I just got a new mic. So if you notice an improvement in the quality of the audio of this video, then let me know. Because if not, I'm going to return it. This thing was expensive, man. Like, I have no use for it if it's not giving you guys some oral pleasure. No Diddy. So let me know when you think we're getting this new Kendrick album. Let me know how you guys feel about GNX. Let me know about how you feel about this improved audio quality, and I will catch you guys in the next one.
There's a lot of little nuggets in both of their disses that if it wasn't for these breakdowns, and salute to guys like this, Rapaholics, because I think they directly get it.